Hi, everybody.
Hi,
We're
everybody.
boys and girls. We're the third grade teachers here at Coy, and we're reading to you Chapter 11.
The Thing Beneath the Floor. Whatever, he said, whatever, I screeched to Og when all of the campers and counselors had left the nature center and gone to lunch. I had to talk extra loud because of the rain. Boing, boing, Og responded. What's so great about a ropes course, I added, though I wouldn't mind some ropes to climb on my cage. Og splashed briskly, agreeing with me, I think. I hopped on my wheel to calm myself down. He's always bragging about the other camp, I complained out loud. His name should be Bragging Brad, and bragging is bad. Boing, Og twanged, so I knew he was listening. Maybe Lovely was listening too, because she made a little noise in her throat. Ooh, 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 ooh. Jake struck his tongue out, which is what I wanted to do to Bragging Brad. However, I'm a very polite hamster. I was still trying to cool off when the next group of campers began to gather. They were dripping wet, but they didn't seem to mind.
While Gail and Brad and Saya weren't having as much fun as they should have been, most of the other campers were. I don't think I've ever seen Garth so happy before. While the campers from the other cabins worked hard on their camping skills and athletic contests, Garth and his fellow Bob White seemed to have no worries at all. Later that evening, Aldo brought Og and me into the dining hall. It was still raining, but the showers were gentler now, and Aldo threw a sweatshirt over my cage to keep me dry. The kids are pretty happy about the rain, he told us. They hate to miss the evening campfire, but they're in for a big surprise. What? I asked, hoping it was the good kind of surprise. Welcome to the Happy Hollow Comedy Club, he said, gesturing toward the tables. It looked like the regular dining room to me, without the food. He set my cage and Og's tank on a table near the stage. I know you like to be in the middle of the action, so enjoy yourself. It was noisy inside while the campers roamed around, laughing, joking, dancing, and talking in unsqueakably loud voices. AJ stopped to say hello to me. At least his voice was loud enough to hear over the commotion. How's it going, Humphrey Dumpty? He asked. Fine, I squeaked at the top of my lungs. Suddenly, Garth appeared with AJ's brother, Ty, at his side.
Hey, Humphrey, Garth said, leaning in close to see me. I saw you canoeing today. AJ told Ty, you're going to have to work a lot harder if you want to beat the Blue Jays. Ty shrugged, but Garth turned to face his best friend from room 26. Whoa, Garth said. We've already beaten the Blue Jays. You just don't know it yet. AJ looked puzzled. You are crazy. Not, Garth smiled mysteriously. In fact, we can't lose, can we, Ty? Ty grinned. No way you can beat us. Just then, Super Sam strolled in. Yo, Garth, yo, Ty. Bob White's rule. He high-fived Garth and Ty and moved on. AJ shook his head. Sam's good, but he's not perfect, he said. Okay, Garth replied. Just remember that when you are in your bunk and we're sleeping out at Haunted Hollow. Garth and Ty turned to each other and let out a huge ow, which truthfully set my fur on edge a little. And then it happened. Without warning, Mrs. Wright gave an ear-splitting blast on her whistle. I'd be unsqueakably happy if she'd lose that thing, but I have to admit it worked. Soon the campers were sitting down and were even fairly quiet as everyone's attention was directed to the stage.
Welcome to the Happy Hollow Comedy Club, Hap announced. Let the skits begin. As I said, I had a good view of the stage, and what I saw was quite unexpected. All of the counselors, from Miss Mack and Katie to Aldo and even Maria, put on a series of little plays. They called them skits that were extremely silly and very, very, very funny. One was about chasing a bear in the woods, and one was about putting up a tent. I especially remember the point where they all put on rabbit ears and sang Little Bunny Foo Foo.
Now, I'm not sure whether it was a song or the sight of Aldo with his big mustache and floppy bunny ears that made me laugh, but I almost fell off my tree branch. Og splashed around, which almost always means he's having a good time. And at the end of the show, Mrs. Wright took the stage, and I braced myself for the whistle. But instead, she let us all in singing that song about finding a peanut, which made me wish I had a yummy peanut hidden in my bedding, but I didn't. When it was all over, Miss Mack said that next time, all of us, and she pointed to us campers in the audience, would put on the show. So we'd better get thinking. Goodness, I couldn't think of any funny songs or skits, but I was going to try.
I spent that night in Robin's nest again. It was pretty quiet, even before lights out. Gail was busily trying to finish a long letter to Heidi. Miranda and the other girls were sharing a magazine and talking about hairstyles. "Come on, Gail, let's try this hairstyle on you," Miranda said in a very encouraging voice. "In a minute," Gail said, still writing. "I made this friendship bracelet in arts and crafts, and I want to send it to Heidi." I saw the other Robins roll their eyes, and I didn't blame them. The rain had finally stopped, and once the lights were out for the night, I had a lot to think about. For one thing, I was trying to figure out what was wrong with Brad. Camp Happy Hollow seemed like a wonderful place to be, but to him, the pool was too small, the dining room was too big, and the cabins were too far. He spent so much time thinking about his old camp, I'm not sure he even noticed what was going on at his new camp. Of course, this was my first time at camp, so I didn't have anything to compare it with. Then there was Gail. Her friends were getting a little tired of hearing that "I'll bet Heidi would love archery," or "I'm going to show Heidi how to tie a lantern." She must have had a sore paw from writing letters all the time. If she stopped writing for a day, she'd see what a fun place camp could be. I must admit, every time she mentioned Heidi, I had kind of a flip-flop feeling inside because it made me think of all the kids in room 26 that I missed, as well as Mrs. Brisbane, Mr. Brisbane, and Principal Morales. I missed the library, the recess ball, and even vocabulary quizzes.
But there were so many new things to see and do at Camp Happy Hollow, I tried to think about them instead. I wished Brad and Gail could too. It was clear I wasn't going to get a lot of sleep that night. Besides, trying to come up with a plan to help Brad and Gail, there was that noise again. Skitter, 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 scritch, scritch, scritch. In the past, those scratching noises had been somewhere in the background, but that night they were much louder, which meant that whoever or whatever was making them was close, close, close. They sounded like they were coming from directly under my cage. In a way, I was glad the girls didn't hear them. They were deep in sleep. At least the sounds were coming from under the cabin and not inside the cabin. I paced back and forth in my cage until my curiosity got the best of me. I reminded myself that I'd gone on dangerous explorations before. So taking a deep breath, I carefully opened the lock that doesn't lock, tiptoed out to the edge of the table and looked down. Like most creatures, especially nocturnal ones like me, I can see quite well in the darkness, and what I saw were wide gaps in between the wooden floorboards. Skitter, 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 scritch, scritch, scritch.
The sounds continued. Since none of the girls stirred when I got out of the cage, I took the plunge. I slid down the edge of the table to the floor. Then I found the widest possible gap and bent down to see what was under the cabin. There was dirt down there. Nice, dry dirt. There was a little beam of light from the outdoor lights that helped me see the skitterer, a small, furry creature digging in the dirt. It was a hamster. No, its ears were bigger than mine, and its fur was not nearly as golden and fluffy. It wasn't a hamster, but something very hamsterish. Something that reminded me of my days at Petorama, where I lived until the day Miss Mack found me. It was a mouse, a brown mouse, digging furiously in the dirt. I was afraid of waking the robins up, but I managed to venture the tiniest possible squeak to get the mouse's attention. Its head jerked upward, so we were looking eye to eye. It froze for a minute, and then it answered me with an eek. "Quiet, Humphrey," Kayla mumbled sleepily. Startled, the mouse skittered away and was quickly out of sight. I was sorry. It looked like a friendly mouse, and a lot livelier than some of my former neighbors at Petalrama. They mostly napped in their cages and didn't even bother to skitter or scritch.
I was even sorrier when I was ready to get back to my cage and realized that there was no way back on top of the table. Here, there were no blinds. There was not even a cord. I was stuck. It was like I was standing in a canyon looking up at a mountaintop with nowhere to get there. I thought and thought and thought some more, but there was nothing around that would help me climb that mountain. In desperation, I crawled into Miranda's baseball cap, which she left on the floor near her bunk. It was a long, long, long wait until morning. There was nothing more to do but worry, worry, worry. And in the past, whenever I was found outside of my cage, some human got in trouble for leaving my door open. And that bothered me, because the only creature responsible for me being out of my cage was, well, me. The next morning, when the deafening wake-up music blared away, I braced myself. Somebody was going to be in trouble, and I only wished it would be me. So no one was more surprised than I was when the girls rolled out of their beds and Lindsay scooped up the hat I was in. "Miranda, you'd better be more careful about leaving these things around," she cautioned. Then she set the cat on the table right next to my cage and hurried off to the bathrooms, which for some reason they called latrines.
I was stunned when I saw the girls all hurrying outside. Without another thought, I scampered out of the hat, raced to the door of my cage, flung it open, and hurried inside. I quickly pulled the door behind me, and that was that. My entire night of paw-biting worry was a complete waste of time, because no one even noticed I was out of my cage. Note to self, don't worry so much over things that might never, never, never happen. Happy summer.
Happy summer.